History tells us the Knights Templar were holy warriors, men of the cloth sworn to poverty, protecting pilgrims on the dusty roads to Jerusalem. But the ledgers tell a story of a global superpower. In the 12th century, while kings were begging for gold and barons were fighting over dirt, 9 men in white robes were building a system that would eventually control the wealth of nations. They weren't just knights. They were the world's first private military corporation. They had a private army that answered to no king. They had a global banking network that moved money through coded files. And they had sovereign immunity, a legal get-out-of-jail-free card from the Pope himself. Before the Rothschilds, before Blackwater, before the Federal Reserve, there was an audit. This is the audit of the Holy Grail. Chapter 1. The Zero Tax Startup. To understand the Templars, you have to look at their seed funding. In 1139, Pope Innocent II issued a document called Omne Datum Optimum. In the world of business, this was the ultimate legal loophole. It granted the Templars total autonomy. They didn't have to pay tithes. They could cross borders without paying customs. They were exempt from all taxes. Essentially, the Vatican turned the Templar Order into the world's first offshore tax haven. Imagine a corporation today that has its own army, pays 0 taxes and answers to no government. That was the Templar reality. The audit result, they used this tax-free status to accumulate land at a rate the world had never seen. By 1150, they owned thousands of estates, castles, and farms across Europe. They weren't just protecting the road to Jerusalem, they were buying the road. But a corporation with that much land needs a product. And the Templars found the most valuable product in history, sovereign debt. The pattern interrupt, joining the audit. Before we reveal how they invented the modern bank account, I want to invite you into the investigation. This is the first of many audits into the hidden billionaires of history. If you're finding this forensic side of history more valuable than the myths, hit the like button and subscribe to join the audit. It's the only way to see the files the history books tried to burn. Now let's head to Chapter 2. Chapter 2. The Invention of the ATM. If you were a noble in London in the year 1200 and you wanted to travel to Jerusalem, you had a massive problem. Carrying gold was a death sentence. You would be robbed, killed, or both within 10 miles. The Templars solved this with a forensic innovation. You would walk into the temple in London, hand them your gold, and in return, they would give you a piece of parchment with a coded cipher. When you arrived in Jerusalem weeks later, you would walk into the local Templar branch, show your check, and they would give you your gold back in the local currency. The forensic discovery, the Templars were the world's first cloud server. The gold stayed safe in their vaults, while only the information, the debt, moved across the ocean. But they didn't do this for free. They took a transaction fee. They charged for the exchange. They charged for the security. They were the Visa and MasterCard of the Middle Ages. By the 13th century, they were so wealthy that kings started coming to them for emergency loans. They financed the wars of England and France. They became too big to fail. But as any forensic auditor will tell you, when you become the person your boss owes money to, you become a target. Chapter 3. The Hostile Liquidation. By 1307, the Grand Audit was reaching a breaking point. King Philip IV of France was drowning in debt, and his biggest creditor, the Knights Templar. Philip didn't have the cash to pay them back. So, he decided to liquidate the lender. On Friday the 13th, 1307, he ordered a massive police raid. He arrested every Templar in France. He didn't charge them with bad debt. He charged them with heresy and dark rituals. He used narrative to cover a financial crime. While Philip burned the leaders at the stake, he went straight for the ledgers. He wanted the gold. But here is the forensic mystery. When the royal auditors entered the Paris temple, the gold was gone. The fleet had sailed. The assets had been reallocated. The corporation had gone underground. The legacy audit. History tells us the Templars were destroyed. But if you look at modern finance, you see their code everywhere. They invented the private military contractor. They invented the letter of credit. They invented the sovereign bank. The Holy Grail wasn't a cup. It was a system of moving wealth through the shadows, protected by iron and ink. The Templars proved that if you control the debt of a king, you are more powerful than the king himself. If you enjoyed this forensic look into the world's first PMC, click the subscribe and like button. Keep the audit alive, and I'll see you in the next file.